Kirby Knight here to the gameplay with a little cool with Orion and I don't know what his commentaries will sound like.
Hey everyone, this is Curb and I bring you another standard match. Today we have once again Steven from Bok to Bok Gaming on the right playing what else but Ava, and on the left we do actually have Orion playing a new deck for the channel, of course that being the new deck released in set 2, Blagdemire. So let's go ahead and see how this matchup ends up falling out, going through, I don't know, something like that. Anyways, we do see Blagdemire going first, which is kind of where they want to be. The Blagdemire deck does have a lot of early game, well, not early game pressure, but it has a lot of pressure. So being able to lay down a bunch of attacks during the first couple of turns, pushing the opponent to high damage, means that their final kill turn is just that much more deadly. But of course, going back to Eva, they are going to be searching out the monster order, going to be going ahead and playing it, getting a copy of Imgar there, which you're just going to call down and then use to kind of just rush at the Vanguard, which is definitely what you kind of do have to do against Blagdemire. It is a bit of a glass cannon deck, so the more damage you can push earlier in the game, the easier time you're going to have just kind of finishing it off, and you do always have the chance to finish it off before it even is able to do really what it wants to do. So we do see the of course, grade 2 being ridden, putting 3 cards into Soul, which is actually pretty good. Calling an Alchemist behind the Vanguard just to kind of ensure that hit. Just going to be taken there. Of course, we don't really want to risk anything there. You especially can't against Blagdemire. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, Soul. I would say one of the weaknesses of Blackmire is, honestly, that they don't really Soul charge as much as a lot of other Dark State decks. Although really the thing is that they use a lot more Soul than the average Dark States deck. So that's honestly why they sometimes do have Soul issues despite being a Dark States deck. Anyways, we see a PG being added here off of the second copy of the Monster Order. I think that we should probably be aiming to use that like as quickly as possible, because Blagdemire's skill is going to be shutting that down at some point, probably as early as turn 4 maybe, which is the most dangerous time to the easiest time it is to just lose against Blagdemire. But we do still have the Imgar. We could call something in front of it. Unfortunately, it's not going to be able to hit the Vanguard right now. It's just 8k. We didn't call it off of its skill, so it doesn't get this extra 2k. We probably do want to keep up the pressure, because we were only able to push 1 damage during that last turn. I think we just kind of have to decide how we want to push that pressure. We do see a copy of the Bront Keter card, which would definitely go pretty hard here. We can just put it behind that Imgar. We got a 15k column there, and then of course we can counterblast 1 and possibly call something. And looks like that is what we're gonna do, putting that card to the bottom of the deck. I kind of missed what it was, but I'm sure all of you saw it. As we're in counterblast 1, check the top 5 here. Just gonna be calling. I think you probably want just like a grade 2, just to like swing in. You want as much pressure as possible, and looks like we are going to be getting a pretty good one, being the grade 2 Obfuscate there. Of course, I don't think it's going to be getting its skill quite yet, because I believe like grade 3 Obfuscate, it does need 3 research orders in the order zone. But we do see a Wavy Loss being called here behind the Obfuscate. Going to be Soul Blasting 2 to draw another card. Also going to be allowing us to have an 18k attack here. This first one going to be blocked. Swinging the Vanguard next. Guess we're kind of deciding. Yeah, just swinging the Vanguard next. We could have just saved that. What I think we maybe should have done is save the 15k block there for the Vanguard. It looks like it's not going to end up mattering, as the damage we take off the Vanguard is going to be Overture, which is absolutely horrendous for Ava. That turn was supposed to be a way for you to push damage and kind of just catch up, but unfortunately kind of just got shut down by that OT. We did manage to get a 15k shield, so it's not the end of the world, but it is very deeply unfortunate. Anyways, hitting once again off of the grade 2, putting all 3 cards into the Soul. Almost forgetting to draw the card there, but we do also get a copy of the Gear Colossus, who is going to bind itself face down and allow you to draw another card, which is doesn't really mean a whole lot unless you can get like 2 of them, 2 or 3 or 4 of them into the bind zone off their skill. But it's gonna give us like an extra 5k later down the line, as we'll see. We do see the other grade 1, the one that prevents you from riding after you use your divine skill, checking the top 2, putting another card into the soul. Yeah, so like this is probably one of the reasons why Black tends to have a little bit of a problem, like accumulating a lot of soul. A lot of their cards just say like put 1 card, put 2 cards. But it is very nice that Blagmire does have like access to selective soul charging, which puts it a little bit of a step above like everything else. Like we've got another selective soul charge here. You get to reveal top 3 and put any number, so you can basically just filter out putting everything. Like we just put a normal unit there, even a really good one being that Crimson Expeller, and then just putting 2 crits back in the deck. So it's totally possible to just like giga sack with the Blagdemire, just like, you know, hitting those triggers exactly when you need them. But we do also have this Zamu, which is a very threatening rear guard, being a 15k attacker, and also having an extra critical there. So it looks like we're also just going to be calling down a Crimson Expeller here. It's probably just to put a little bit of pressure, as we're going to be swinging the Vanguard, binding the 4 cards from the soul face down. Of course, getting that 15k booster, swinging for a 38. I think that, just in my opinion, every time you can PG the Vanguard, you should, and we know we have that PG there, so I think we definitely should have just PG'd right there. We do hit a defensive front trigger, so that's pretty big. So we are going to be swinging for 20. We are going to be at 20k base, and this Zamu using its skill is going to be hitting for 23 for 2 damage. That should be a really easy attack to guard, just a 5k. We could honestly understep with that Obfuscate. It is a little bit over guarding, because, you know, he's a 10k guard, but I guess it depends on whether or not we have something in hand. So it looks like we're going to end up guarding with a grade 3 Obfuscate from hand. Of course, that Crimson Expeller cannot hit the Vanguard or the rear guard, but, you know, there was always the option. We could always just swing Expeller to get its mandatory soul charge on attack, but looks like we're going to opt to not do that. We probably have enough soul here. Like, Black tends to have enough soul for, like, the first couple of turns, but if you survive the divine skill, that's when they kind of get, they tend to start lacking in soul, and it's kind of difficult for them to get back up to that 4 soul sometimes. Anyways, we do see of course, you know, riding into grade 3 Ava, going to be activating the blue research lab, getting an Imgar off the top. Can be using the Ava skill actually to counterblast 1, checking the top 3 cards of the deck, adding 1 to hand. Of course, going to be getting an extra 5k to the Vanguard, but it's not going to matter because we're just going to use Imgar to Superior Ride into that Pip Ava there. And, you know, that's going to allow us to get yet another blue research lab there. So things really are not looking great for Ava. You're like, well, it's not too bad. You're at 2-1. But next turn, you do have I guess, the potential of absolutely dying here, depending on, you know, what you actually end up hitting. Looks like we are going to be soul blasting the 1 to give 5k to something. And then, of course, just swing the Pip Ava. When he calling out the Obfuscate, giving both of them 5k. So we got like 28k, 18k here. And so it looks like we're just be not guarding this, which is always, you know, perfectly fine. We see another PG there, which is normally would be pretty great. But when you're up against Blag, especially on their turn 4, like, you got 2 PGs. I think next turn, if you can, you definitely need to use them. Otherwise, you know, you're going to not be able to lose them, and there is a very high possibility that you can just instantly die. It looks like we're going to be swinging the Obfuscate in at that Zamoog, which is definitely a very good play. One of the weaknesses of Blagdemire is that, you know, they don't actually have access to, like, any recursion. So if you can take out their rear guards, they tend to have a pretty difficult time actually getting all of them back. Like, they have ways to call them from the soul, but outside of that, if they don't soul charge them, if they're not, like, in circulation, if they don't draw them, then it can be very hard for them to, you know, recur all of their pieces back. But we do see the order here being played, just calling out the Phallicate, our Servant Phallicate, whatever her name is. I always just call her Servant Phallicate. But she's going to be called out, a very strong attacker. Definitely another really good rear guard for Blagdemire. Putting in the Colossus, binding it, and then getting another draw off of that. Going to be swinging here for that 48. Going to be guarded with, I believe that was actually matching, like 28, 38, 48. I think what happened here is we forgot that the order does actually give the rear guard 5k, which is why we we guarded exact instead of, 5k over. We're going to be swinging this Vanguard, the Blagdemire, for 63, just like massively powerful. The double Colossus does give us that extra 5k. So we definitely put PG down here, but for some reason we're going to decide not to, and we're going to get super hard punish there. I definitely think that we should have. You always PG Blagdemire if you can, because now we're in a really bad situation because we're at 4. That means that next turn, if we do actually use Divine Skill, you know, you can't PG that, and it's going to be even bigger by at least 10k. We're looking at least 73. But I think what we do here, considering that we didn't PG that, what we did here is basically all we can do. I'm just going to be taking that last damage, going to 5. You know, we do kind of, at this point, you do have to conserve cards in your hand. You need to keep all the triggers that you can. Unfortunately, we do have those 2 PGs that are going to be absolutely dead coming into this next turn. I think our game plan does kind of have to be amassing a lot of Obscadades, because that's probably going to be your best shield. But you do also need to fill your board, because remember, Blagdemire does remove the field as well. We do see the skill of the second doll here, putting a non-trigger unit to the bottom of the deck. Maybe we should have recycled an Obscadade there. Not sure. I don't know how to play Ava. Don't yell at me. Anyways, gonna be using double Imgar here off of that blue research lab, calling them both out, and then probably gonna be using one of them to go into the Pip Ava because we didn't ride from hand. Let's see, what else do we have? What was I saying before? Oh yeah, you're in a really bad situation because you have 2 PGs in hand, and you're not going to be able to use them next turn, so you're going to have to hard guard this Blagdemire that's hitting 70k, which is technically feasible for Ava to guard, especially with that new Blitz order that can get them up to like 50k shield, which is, you know, pretty good. It looks like we're going to be putting the Imgar that was behind the Vanguard into the Soul, which definitely makes a little bit of sense. And looks like we did actually forget to do another thing here. We do activate Persona Ride here, but we totally forget to draw off of the Persona Ride. So, ooh, that might be a little bit rough. We see another copy of the Bront Keter here. Deciding what we want to put to the bottom. I think maybe we just put an Obscadade. I kind of missed what we put on the bottom, but we are going to be calling another Obscadade off of the top there, the top 5. And because it was actually placed by a card ability, that Obscadade is going to be getting an extra critical. So we've got a lot of pressure here. The main problem is, if you didn't notice, Black has a ton of cards in hand, and they are at 2. So your ability to actually finish things this turn is kind of just limited to OT. They have no PG. But, you know, we're just going to do the best we can. So we're just doing 28. A pretty decent number, but, you know, that is still just a 2-card guard. One of them being a Tisk card, which is definitely not great for you if you're the Ava player. They're just being able to filter. Swinging the Ava in here. Going to be, of course, binding the original Ava. Going to be calling out an Obscadade. Ooh, looks like we don't actually have any in deck left. So we're going to go ahead and just call one from the drop zone, which is, you know, very good. That's the reason why Pip Ava is so good. It's such a big improvement over the original. Going to be drive checking another PG. Oof, that is 3 PGs. We see a front trigger there, but it is going to be hit with a defensive front trigger. So now, sitting as Ava, if you were against any other matchup, you'd probably be pretty good sitting with those 3 PGs, but this is the one matchup where, you know, it doesn't matter how many PGs you have, they actually end up being a little bit of a liability. Looks like we're going to be actually taking this 48k Obscadade swing, just going to 5. Going to be blocking this last one. Thanks to those double defensives, going to be able to guard for 63, blocking that 58k column Obscadade. And unfortunately, it looks like this might be final turn, depending on what Ava has in hand. We've got a ton of cards there. So it is definitely within the realm of possibility. We do have the double back row, which means that we can protect the Obscadades from the Blagdemire skill. We see another Zamug being played here. Counterblasting the one, checking the top 3. Going to allow us to filter. Looks like we're just going to be putting another Colossus in there. You do actually have to reveal what you do get off the top there. It looks like we're just putting the Colossus into the Soul. It's not really going to make a difference because you do need another one outside of that Colossus. You need 2 to get an extra 5k. So I think if we bind the Colossus, that's just going to put us at an odd number of cards in our bind zone. It looks like we're forgetting to do it. So we're just going to use Counterblast 1 and using the skill of the Expiller from the Soul, start charging 1, giving Blagdemire yet another 10k. So this is going to be absolutely massive swing. And we didn't proc the Divine skill last turn, so honestly, at 5 damage, you've got 4 attacks coming in here. No PGs outside of, like, you know, their first swing. This first Zamug swing for 38, a very strong swing. I think we just PG here. You could honestly PG for PG. It's almost inevitable that they're going to be using... ooh, we discarded an Elementario for the PG. So I think that means we had all 4 PGs in hand as we swing this Blagdemire for a grand total of 73, finally proccing the Divine skill, shutting down all PGs, 2 damage, and you're at 5. So this, unless you can get up to like 88, you know, you're kind of done for. And don't forget, you still do have to guard the other 2 attacks of Zamugas when you restand with a crit, and that Falocate is going to be swinging with a very, very big number. Ooh, so it looks like we are going to be making a attempt here. We've got the Blitz order. That's going to be giving us 30k shield, so it's going to getting us up to 43. So that means we would need like 45 more k in order to make this a 2 to pass. In all honesty, you might even have to risk it and just go for like a 1 to pass here. So we're at a front, and 30k more shield for another 50. Onto that, so it's gonna make it 80. Numbers hard. 30 plus 20 plus another 30, that makes 80, so that'll be 93, I think. But it's not overly going to matter because, you know, we're probably not going to be able to block those other ones. So that is going to be the end of the match. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget those 2 things. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.